Are you ready to dive deep into the intriguing connections between ancient Egyptian history and the biblical story of the Garden of Eden? Join us in this captivating video as we uncover fascinating similarities and uncover the true meaning behind the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Is it an actual tree that a person would gain knowledge of good and evil from if they ate of the tree? Is the garden somewhere in a place called Eden that can be found if searched for on a map? Is there a connection between the biblical Garden of Eden and Pharaoh Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti's Garden of Amarna? Get ready for a thought-provoking exploration that will challenge your understanding of these ancient tales. Some people think that the garden's name is Eden that is mentioned in the Bible. The Bible's garden was in Eden. That's not the same as the garden being named Eden. That, in of itself, should be a little eye-opening, that one should ask, well, could Eden go by another name? Look at the word Aten. The word Aten can also be enunciated Eten, the beautiful paradise garden dedicated to the god Aten at Amarna, in Akhenaten's attempt to create a new perfect society. So we have Akhenaten's Garden of Aten instead of the Bible's Garden of Eden or Eten. It's important to understand that interchanging letters was persistent with Old Hebrew and Egyptian words, which in turn are known to have caused confusion, such as Gan, Hebrew for garden, comes from Khan, Egyptian for garden or vineyard. K and G were used interchangeably in these languages. The stories of Pharaoh Akhenaten alongside his queen Nefertiti were similar to Adam and Eve, for they both feature a serpent as a symbol of opposition. Who would the serpent be in the story of Egyptian royalties? In ancient Egypt, the serpent was often associated with the priesthood, and it had religious and symbolic significance. The Egyptian priesthood opposed Akhenaten's religious reforms, while the serpent tempted Adam and Eve to disobey God. In the Garden of Aten, the uraeus, symbol of a serpent, a rearing cobra or cobra standing upright, tempted the Amarna lovers to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which Hava, Eve, stole from. The tree of knowledge, as defined by the phrase Edoth, may not mean exactly what one would expect. While A does translate to tree, the Hebrew word doth has multiple meanings, including to know, to be known, and to make known. It's likely that the latter definitions are more appropriate in this context. According to Egyptian beliefs, the tree of knowledge bore fruit that the god Thoth would inscribe with the name of the pharaohs to ensure their soul's survival. This is shown in a representation at the Temple of Luxor, where Thoth inscribes the fruit with the name of Pharaoh Seti I. Pharaohs needed their name written everywhere in the two lands, that would be the Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt, for their soul's survival. The tree that Thoth would inscribe the names of the pharaohs on to ensure their soul's survival sounds familiar. The tree was a family tree. This tree was the record place that kept the names of successive royal dynasties. Preserving the history of the royal bloodline was crucial in these enclosed gardens, making them sacred and significant. These trees held the royal dynasty's symbolic history, spirit, and memory. Thus, anyone who stole from its fruits was desecrating the memory and history of the monarchy. So Eve, Nefertiti, or Hava was taking from the tree its fruits, and by taking away the fruits, she was desecrating the tree, or in other words, she was damaging the family tree. Additionally, these sacred trees were possibly viewed as trees of praises. The priesthood may have read out the pharaoh's names to honor the departed kings. This raises the possibility that the Hebrew word doth, meaning knowledge, may have originated from the Egyptian duat, which means praise. These sacred trees being that they were a list of names which are used to remember those that came before, however, cannot be used as a means of remembrance or praise if they were damaged. It is possible that the tree of knowledge was actually a symbolic representation of a written or spoken tribute to the Egyptian royal family. This theory is supported by a verse that suggests Eve, Hava, recognized the tree's desire to impart wisdom. On the other hand, the Tree of Remembrance was meant to ensure that the pharaoh's name lived on, with both mortal and divine beings speaking it. The fruit of this tree was called parai, a word derived from parit in Egyptian. This word has a broader range of meanings beyond simply seeds and fruits, and can also refer to a person's descendants. Firstly, it is worth noting that the biblical story of the Garden of Eden contains several elements that are typically associated with ancient Egyptian religion. Secondly, the description of the Garden of Eden in the Bible is similar to the city of Amarna, which was the capital of Akhenaten's empire. Both are described as lush and abundant, with a river flowing through the center. The Bible describes the land of Eten as the beautiful place where 4 great rivers flowed through. According to David Rohl, a well-seasoned archaeologist, these rivers originate from the Lake Urmia catchment area near the Caspian Sea and include the branches that eventually form the Tigris and Euphrates. Despite being a fertile region with many vegetation types, it is hard to say that it is situated near 4 great rivers. At the source of these rivers, they are just small streams, and they become great rivers only after a distance. To locate the biblical Eden, we are searching for 4 rivers that flow near each other. However, this is unlikely to exist, as great rivers usually converge into larger rivers. The fertile region near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers is far from 4 great rivers, as they are just small streams at their source. One possible solution is that the rivers of Eden were not actual rivers or tributaries, but branches. The Bible mentions 1 river and 4 heads, which may support this idea. The only similar topography is found in the delta regions of the world, such as in Egypt. Quoting the Bible directly, the book of Genesis in verse 10 of chapter 2, "And a river went out of Eden to irrigate the garden, and from there it flowed out and became 4 heads. The Nile is the largest river in the region. Still, when it reaches the delta lands, it slows down and splits into 2 main branch rivers, the Rosetta and Damietta branches. However, in ancient times, there were 2 more branches, the Eastern Pelusiac branch that served Avaris, and the Western Canopic branch that ended near modern Alexandria, making 4 branches. Over time, the number of branches has decreased, providing a rough estimate of the date of the Genesis story. During the Old Kingdom, there were up to 6 Nile branches within the delta, but this number had reduced to 4 by the New Kingdom era. The Pelusiac branch silted up after the reign of Ramses II. Therefore, the biblical account of 4 branches of the Nile aligns with the New Kingdom era before Ramses II's reign. The description of the River Nile in the Bible aligns with the physical geography of ancient Egypt. The Nile is the longest river in the world and splits into 4 branches in the delta region. This fact supports the argument that the Garden of Eden story is likely based on Egyptian mythology. Therefore, to better understand the meaning of the biblical story, one should look to Egypt and its language. What a thought-provoking exploration of the connections between ancient Egyptian history, its mythology, and the Bible. Now, can the Garden of Eden, or is it the Garden of Amarna, be found? Are the 2 gardens one and the same? Is the tree of knowledge of good and evil a tree that a person can eat from and gain knowledge of good and evil? Or is it a family tree that, if not desecrated, learns who the previous pharaohs were in a specific royal bloodline? We are excited to know what you think. Let us know in the comments section. Until next time.